phone in. I'm Matty, and it's been a great week so far. I think if you're a Hibs fan, we've been sort of still basking in the glory of a successful home kit launch last week, I should say. And then we had the news that Rocky Bushiri has extended his stay at the club by 3 years. And today, the announcement of Josh Mulligan signing on for 4 years from Dundee. And Rocky was announced in a new strip as well, which is an old Hibsnet trope of Hibs launching a new strip along with a new signing. Or Class and Rocky is a new signing in this case, just because I don't think there was ever a recorded case of it happening before, despite people talking about it so much. So, Stephen, I'll come to you first because you were first on. What have you made of the week?
Yeah, it's been quite a good one. I listened in after the live recording last week, and I think most around the panel kind of suggested that Rocky was probably gone. So I always held on to a bit of hope that he would re-sign based on the lack of anything to say otherwise beyond absolute silence. So absolutely delighted. 3 years as well is a pretty good lengthy contract. That'll take him to what I think 28. So you could argue that we're going to see him reaching his peak or just about to hit his peak if you assume that players hit their peak in their mid to late 20s. So absolutely delighted, Matty, absolutely delighted. And I see there's been a couple more out the door today as well, or certainly one, potentially another. So it seems like it was all quiet for a while, and it seems like we've probably been building up to this ahead of the season starting in just over 3 weeks, whatever it is, just a few weeks, I think. So yeah, it's been a pretty good week, absolutely.
So it was Nathan Moriah-Welsh who, I forgot who was, is it Macclesfield? He was going to Mansfield.
I think, yeah.
Trying to remember off the top of my head there. Yes, Moriah-Welsh away, and I think there was a report that Tavares had his contract terminated as well. Whether that was his doing or ours, I'm not sure. What were your thoughts about Moriah-Welsh going, Stephen?
I'll be honest, I like Moriah-Welsh. I think he's a pretty decent player. I would imagine that he probably has aspirations of playing first team football, and I think when he has played, he's probably shown that he's good enough. But we just seem to be at the moment blessed with probably better players than him. He is a very specific type of player, and he maybe isn't versatile enough to maybe come in and start. But I'm quite sad to see him go. I don't think he ever really did anything wrong whenever he came in. I'll be honest, I thought he could have been maybe a wee bit higher than Mansfield. I'm not sure if they're League One or League Two, but he struck me as being a player that was relatively well thought of at Bournemouth. He came up here with decent aspirations and ambitions, and he's ended up lower league in England. So I'm a wee bit disappointed for him personally, but wish him all the best. I didn't think he done anything wrong in a Hibs jersey, Matty.
Yeah, Ian, what were you? What were your thoughts on Moriah-Welsh going? You got yourself a mute, Ian.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
Exactly the same as Stephen. I was really sad to see him go, as I actually liked his style of play. It's definitely the right thing for both Hibs and Nathan, though. I liked him. I can't remember. I think he played well against Celtic, and so he was playing well at high level. He was a skilled player, but as Stephen said, we've just got a wealth of midfielders. So it's sad, but it's the right thing.
And Tavares.
I mean, the lassie that sits beside me in the East Stand absolutely loved him. The trouble is he was just so inconsistent. He was the sort of player that a former generation of Hibs, we would have tolerated for the few times that he was actually really good. And in the old days, that would have been good enough. But certainly going forward, where what you covered when Colin, John, and yourself were talking the other day, we have to start beating the teams we're expected to beat. And we need that. For that, we need consistent players. And unfortunately, Jair wasn't consistent enough.
I agree with that. Joe, what did you make of the exits?
Well, I think Moriah-Welsh is fair enough. You know, he was on the fringes, but never better than that, in my view. He never did anything terribly wrong, but then he never did anything terribly exciting either. So, if you have a quick peek at the transfer window, what's happened now, then we've got two good goalkeepers by the looks of it. With Rocky re-signing, with him and Equiteta, we've got two good centre-halves. The two boys that they brought in, the one today and the other guy that signed a pre-season, in January, there's two extra midfield players. both of them fairly creative, I think. So what we desperately need now is a couple of strikers, because that's where we're woefully short. Although I wonder what the story is going to be with Ellie Johan. Is he gone? Because does he still have something to contribute? Because in his day, it could be magic. So be interesting to see how that one develops over the summer.
Yeah, we'll talk a wee bit more about what we still need in a wee bit. Cause I think you're spot on, Joe. Probably the striking position is the one that most needs attention. John, what about you? Were you sad to see Moriah-Welsh go? I mean, I'm kind of talking for the group here that we're probably all accept that Tavares going was pretty much an easy decision, but Moriah-Welsh maybe a wee bit tougher, John.
I think Tavares, other than one turn against Dundee at Dens Park, you know what I mean? Where he sort of flattered to deceive for most of the time. You wanted him to do well, but didn't work out. So if he gets a chance to go back to Portugal and rebuild his career, because he certainly was a young player with potential, so he can go home and try and sort it out. Moriah-Welsh, I wonder how much it is about freshening up the squad with Moriah-Welsh. I like everybody else. I liked him. I liked his attitude. He seemed to be a part of the squad. He was there for the celebrations. He didn't look as if he wasn't interested. He brought all the attributes that we were looking for. But you can't keep everybody because there's a staleness that could come in. You've got to bring a bit of freshness. I think Mulligan probably takes his place in that midfield in terms of challenging for positions. So it's probably the right thing. But it seems to me that what we were looking for this transfer window is the idea that a bit of planning and preparation had gone in and that we had people working in the background with an idea of what to get done. That's the thing that's shouting out to me at the moment, is that we've sort of kept I've certainly tried to keep a powder dry in terms of what I would say about the job that Malcolm Mackay's doing in terms of leading the football department. But so far in the transfer window, he's doing well.
Yeah, we totally agree with that. Jeff, the idea of raising the bar by sort of managing out, I suppose, a player like Moriah-Welsh, as Joe put it, you know, they never really sort of made the impact into the first team that he would have liked. Never did anything terrible, never did anything brilliant. That's kind of the way to progress, isn't it? Like that by sort of lifting the bar in that manner.
Yeah. All the times I listen to you and Colin and John on the podcast, Colin's always on about you bring in better than what you've got. So Mulligan is probably more of a Davy Gray type signing than Moriah-Welsh was, which predated Davy being in charge. He's stronger, he's bigger, probably more powerful going forward. But I like Moriah-Welsh. You know, I was a big fan of his, and I'm sorry to see him go, but I completely understand why. And I think John Spawn about freshening up the squad, and we've also got to have so many homegrown as in Scottish players in the squad. So he ticks so many boxes. If Moriah-Welsh went because we got Mulligan in, is Mulligan not Mulligan?
It's Mulligan, yeah. Mulligan and O'Hare.
Yeah, so I completely understand why, and he's at an age where he wants to play, and he obviously got Hibs did. Moriah-Welsh, Nathan, you know, you see him even when he didn't play, he was up celebrating with the fans at the derby at Tynecastle. He was one of the chief celebrators, you know. So he, I imagine he'd be very popular in the dressing room as well. It'd be a bit of a loss, but for him, I wish him well down at Mansfield. But I'm excited to see Josh Mulligan, who's one of those Dundee players, along with McCowan. I wasn't so bothered about Cameron, but Mulligan, he destroyed us on our left. When we went down to 10 men at the park, he was unstoppable. And it wasn't the first time I noticed him, but that kind of confirmed what I thought. He'd be a good signing.
We'll come on and talk about him in a wee bit. I'll stay with you in a second, Jeff, and I'm just going to go to YouTube comments, and then I'll come around the table, get some thoughts on Rocky's extension as well. So I'm sure everyone's got some. Well, I'm guessing everyone will have nice things to say about Rocky, but obviously say what you like. Green Tea said, evening all, evening Green Tea. Sandy said, evening the Magnificent Six and all on the chat. What a broad week. Ronnie said, good to see you, bangers. Spot said, "Hi everyone, do we think Mulligan is here instead of Nectar, or is Nathan away to make space for him? Either way, delighted with Mulligan, but both be amazing, him and Nectar. Any more info on it?" So in terms of info, I can't possibly claim to be in the know because I'm not. But the wee bits of gossip that we get suggests that Nectar is very close to signing. Obviously, with these things, take it with a pinch of salt. Right? Like I say, I have no authority on it. I'm just repeating what I've heard. Jamie said, "Great week, going about our business quietly. No need to shout our mouths off about breaking old firm dominance or guaranteed third, unlike some other deluded muppets." Jack C99 Vlog said, "Evening all."
Yeah.
Ron said, "Evening guys." And Sandra said, "Don't forget Manny. My tip for surprise of the coming season. Squad is looking good though." We'll talk about the squad depth a bit as we go as well. But Jeff, Rocky's signing that was kind of at the start of the week tip to happen, and it did indeed happen on Thursday. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm delighted. I was one of those who thought the mood music was he wasn't going to sign because of the length of time it was taking.
Yeah.
But he could just been holding out for a better deal, longer contract, more money, more signing. Could get a signing on fee because he's a new player. You know, there's all sorts of things in the background. I am absolutely delighted because we've basically got the defence, well, the team that finished third, apart from Triantis at the moment. I know we're missing the two forwards, but if you're starting with Bowie and Boyle, that's quite a strong starting 11. We still need, obviously, to fill the gaps in up front. So Rocky, yeah, delighted. He's got better and better. There's a lot of comments about when he first came, he was poor, and I've mentioned it on our chat group that he's played under 4 different managers with a load of different partners along the back line, with different keepers, different midfield in front of him, and he's still learning the position. So we're now getting not the finished article, but as near as the finished article as we'll get, and I'm delighted we've got him and nobody else, because he's a unit. He's not the best in the air we could possibly have, but along the deck and speed-wise, physicality, it's fantastic news. I just think it shows the club. Somebody, was it you or one of the other guys, mentioned it about the forward planning, which has obviously been going on. We're not keen. I'm sure the forward planning for the centre forward and forward positions as we speak, and something they'll pull a rabbit out the hat hopefully tomorrow or Monday.
Sure they will. John, Rocky, if you remember, infamously had Ben Kensel sort of reveal that he'd asked him, "Why do all the fans hate me?" It's been quite a turnaround from him, isn't it?
We have that idea that a man who scored an injury time own goal at Tynecastle, became a cult hero by the end of the match. He's becoming sort of our modern day Darren McGregor in terms of how his attitude in the middle of defence. It's that sort of player. He will have had options elsewhere, but listening to his interview, he likes it here and he feels loved. You know what I mean? And that it's one of those things where that connection with the fans that's been rebuilt by sort of players and coaches, and to an extent the club taking a step back in the second half of the season. There was a lot of corporate stuff that just wasn't put to the fore. They allowed the football to do the talking. That's come to it. So no, I'm really chuffed. I'm one of those, as Stephen highlighted, I thought it was gone. Because normally by the time the transfer window is open, there's other clubs that can come in, and because they're not paying a transfer fee, there can be stuff on the table. Well done to those in the background that have got it done. But what we need is the defence from the second half of the season to be starting. We don't want the defence from when they first came in, because listening to your reviews of the months as we go through, reminds us of games that weren't quite as perfect as we quite remember them. They went well in the second half, but first halves were completely dreadful. So the team grew as the season went on. He's one of those that grew with it, and with confidence, I think he'll do well. We just need to be there. He's a central defender. When he makes a mistake, it'll be costly.
You mentioned Darren McGregor as well, probably a good opportunity to wish Darren all the best in his recovery as well.
Yeah.
Hibs obviously mentioning that he would miss his own testimonial after his car accident. So, yeah, best wishes, Daz. Joe, how important is it? Like you hear Rocky, I don't know if you had a chance to digest any of his interviews since he's come back, but he talked about feeling loved and Easter Road being his home. How important is it for a club like Hibs that the fans have that kind of connection with players in order for us to keep them?
It's huge, and I'm sure that loving that he got from the terraces and with the way we chanted his name and so on, I'm sure that played a bit of a part in him deciding to re-sign for 3 years. I mean, obviously, there'd be numbers and money going on in the background to put the deal together that worked for him financially. And that 25, he's got to look after his security. We've got him for the best years, arguably 25 to 28. So it's a great re-signing for Hibs. But I think the love from all of us that's come across to him will have played a factor. He's part of us. He's a big Ivy now.
Definitely, and you're always kind of quite consistent about the like fan behaviour and the need to support the team. Do you get a sense of satisfaction that that this one has a sort of link to the fans with it?
I think so. I think it's important not to overplay that, though. I think Rocky's decision, I think, probably included the likelihood of him continuing to get international chances. In other words, where am I most likely to get them? And I think staying at Hibs, he will develop as a player. And I think if I was doing that, negotiating on his contract, then I would have been saying that to Rocky. This is the best place for you to develop as a player. Look how you developed. You're in the international squad. This is a great opportunity for you. So I think we were in quite a strong position, I feel.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing now is clearly that he plays well enough to retain his place.
I think that's massive as well, isn't it, Stephen? That none of the players that we have that have come in or re-signed should be considered automatic starters, and we probably do have that competition for places in the squad now.
Yeah, absolutely. Rocky's obviously signed the contract extension, knowing fine well what's already at the club, and probably an inkling as to what the club wants to do in the remainder of the transfer window before the season starts. So I think that's paramount to what David and Malky have obviously sold him as the vision, if you want to get into cliches and things like that. So he's obviously signed on that. But it's so refreshing seeing a contract extension treated as almost like a marquee brand new transfer signing. It's considering when you rewind to the fact that when he was signed, it came out that it was Hibs made a bit of a boo-boo with it and had to sign him. It's amazing how football goes around and where he is now. I'm delighted for him, honestly, Matty. I'm so happy that he now feels that connection. He probably felt it, but then, you know, it's like family. Family's the thing you love most, but the thing that can cause the most heartbreak. So I can't imagine he had an easy time of it. But I'm so happy that he's put on record that's how he's feeling about things, and certainly he's a talismanic figure, isn't he? He isn't the greatest and most polished defender, but as Jeff pointed out, he's matured through playing games. When you start off I think he started off at Man City, didn't he? He probably hasn't played a huge amount of first team football until 2021, maybe when he started going out and loaning teams like Hibs. He's matured as a player through playing big men's football, and Jeff's spot on when he says that that's what's matured him into the good defender that he is now.
John, you got your hand up.
The only thing that just came to me there is that he was the player of the year this year as well, wasn't he?
Rocky got it, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that idea as well, as that his influence in the background, I mean, must be really good. So if you're sitting in Malcolm Mackay's or David Gray's, I mean, plays, you're looking at him more than just the one-dimensional player that we see on the pitch. I mean, you're looking at the dressing room, you're looking at the training ground, you're looking at how he brings others into the squad, how he deals with others. I mean, Tracy spoke highly of him in the past in terms of how she's interacted with him. So those sort of things come into it as well. And yeah, it's all right, no dickheads and all this, but he feels as a, the club have gone and tried to sell it. And I'm glad, but it was just the fact that he was the support he's already got from the rest of the dressing room for what he did last year. But he still has to keep going.
Yeah, I think there was a story. I'm sure it was Nicky Cadden on. I can't remember. It was on Open Goal, but it was telling a story about Rocky, the game where Nicky broke his nose, and I think Rocky got him at half time. He said, "Who was it that did it?" And I'll go and get them. Do you know, like he was, looking out for his teammates on it. John, he was announced in the strip, so Green Tea asked thoughts about the yellow strip, guys. Looks good with the Rocky announcement. Gary said, "Love the new yellow top." And Sandy
Is there not a bit of
says,
Brazilian? Is there not a bit of Brazilian gold about that top?
Sandy said that yellow kit with the green looks like Brazil's shirt, an omen of great football to come, perhaps. Is it not the case these days that Brazil wish they could play like Hibs, John?
Well, we taught them how to play. If you read your history, the famous five went over and did the tour in the 50s, and we taught the Brazilians how to play football. So, yeah, maybe they should.
And what do you think at the top? Do you like it? Are you a fan?
I do. I mean, it's let's be honest about it. If it goes on a man mountain like Rocky, you know what I mean? It's going to look fab. I'm not quite sure how this Michelin man will look if he tries it on. So I will probably have to see whether I look like the other side of the sun, or whether it's actually going to be worth getting. So, but no, it'll look fabulous.
I'll be like a white-topped watermelon. That's if I wear it. So I'll maybe get one. Ian, you got your hand up. What did you think of it?
Oh, I'm colourblind, so I've not got a clue. So, but I just wanted to mention just something related to Brazil there, because I coached in New Jersey, and when we got to, I think, under 17, they're quite big laddies, we were playing a team called Carney. Now, anyone who knows New Jersey knows that Carney is where the Scots are. So Carney's the big Scottish enclave in New Jersey. And they've got a chip shop and everything called the Thistle. So when we were playing Carney, we expected, I don't know who we expected, but what we got was people who had blue and white, they had saltires on their heads, painted on their heads. This was them, right? And it was Carney Thistle, okay? Carney Thistle, except they were all Brazilians. I'm no kidding. It was all Brazilians. They'd obviously, Carney had stopped being a Scottish enclave a few years before, but they were utterly fantastic players. But there they were with saltires painted on their heads and on their faces, but they were all Brazilian.
Barry Vogtsburg had him up for a call up. He was calling up anybody he could back in the day. So
we had one Brazilian playing for us who actually was able to say, "Look, they're speaking Portuguese, so they're Brazilian." Yeah,
nice one. Stephen, you a fan of the top? Did I ask you already?
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't think I had.
Yeah, I think both of them so far are very, very simple and clean, but that's when I think Hibs tops excel. The home top, I'm not saying it personally, but the home top's stunning. The yellow one, it reminds me of, I want to say it was 03-04, one of the last Carlsberg sponsored ones that we then used as a third kit the following season with White Mackay on it. It's not too dissimilar from that. I'm not too keen on the little triangular bit of the neck. If that was just a simple round neck with the green trim, that would probably be a 10 out of 10. So a mark off for that. But other than that, both of them so far, I think will be big sellers.
Aye, I was the same. If they'd been all yellow, would have been pretty much perfect, I think. Joe, what about you? You like a yellow kit?
I think it's lovely. Hibs are still to bring out a third kit, aren't they?
I believe there's a fourth one as well to come. Yeah, for the anniversary. I
like the all green top that they did. The reprised a few seasons back. It's not what we're used to, but I really like that. It'll be interesting to see what the third and fourth strips are that they bring out.
Aye,
I'm sure they'll make an effort to make it something special with it being the 150th anniversary.
Well, I think they've got two hits so far. Ian, on you go. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw a wee laddie with one on in the street today actually, but I was at the airport yesterday, and GD Sports I didn't realise GD Sports don't stock our stuff, so I went in. Of course, they've got Celtic, Rangers, and Hearts, and I went in and I said, "Hi, have you got the new Hibs top?" No, the Hibs don't let us sell it. You have to buy it through them. So to me, it's an opportunity missed at the airport, not being able to buy a Hibs strip.
I always think it's an interesting one, that where like how much they obviously do like a feasibility thing with it, and you hear it a lot though, isn't it? Where folks say, "I'd love to be able to pick up a Hibs top when you're out and about and you see Rangers and Celtic tops, but which are the predominant ones." but Hibs tend to kind of keep it exclusive. And you wonder if they must have checked. They did do like the wee pop-up shop at the Gyle a couple of years back. A few years back, they did it around about Christmas time. Jeff, you a fan of the top?
Yes, yeah, like it. Yeah, like always a fan of yellow tops with Hibs. Apart from that luminous one back in Moriah-Welsh's kind of day.
Go back a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, let's move on. And the other signing from just announced today, which was Josh Mulligan from Dundee. Jeff, I'll stay with you first. You kind of mentioned about earlier on. You tagged me in a comment on Facebook. I think there was a story emerging that Aberdeen had also tried to sort of gazump us, I think, for the signing, but Hibs' financial resolve outmuscled Aberdeen's in this case, and we got our man. Is this like the sort of the cliche or the proverbial statement of intent?
Well, you can certainly take it that way. That's two we've got from Aberdeen. Well, Mulligan, who Aberdeen were interested in, and McGrath, who was already at Aberdeen. It would be so easy for them to keep him. So yeah, it's I'm delighted because normally it's the other way around. They nip in when we're about to sign someone. You just wait for Aberdeen to come in. Over the years. I think quite a few players. So yeah, statement of intent, definitely. We will have to pay a development fee, I think, because he's been at Dundee since he was 1 year old or something. I'm not sure what that will work out at. 8-year-old, really. Show, yeah. Pedantic. Yeah, so it's definitely a statement of intent. I think the fact we're outbidding or certainly doing better deals than Aberdeen, who I've just, they've got group stage football guaranteed in Europe, so they will probably have a few more shekels than us to put around. Is good. Yeah, I'm delighted, absolutely delighted.
And what does it say that we strengthened, and significantly strengthened? I would say, like an area of the pitch that we weren't desperately needing to strengthen. So we're going from our already strong position and made it stronger. Well,
there's a couple of ways of looking at it. David Gray, or the team, the recruitment team, David Gray have said, right, we need, let's be harsh about Nathan, good player, but not what I'm looking for. He wasn't my signing. I want somebody who's big, athletic, can drive forward, create chances. Yeah, that's, so we've improved the team. It is an area that is already, was overcrowded till Moriah-Welsh has left. Is anyone else due to go? I'm not sure, apart from Jair. I can't think of any other midfielders that might be on the way out. I've not heard anything. So yeah, I think it's good competition, and he can also play right wing back.
Yeah.
So he's another classic David Gray, where big, strong, athletic, Scottish, can play in multiple positions. So if we don't get Triantis, is he the Triantis replacement? Could be. I don't know enough about him in that position, but he's got the physicality and the stature to play it. He's not going to get bullied.
No doubt about that. Joe, I think you were looking to come in there.
Yeah, I was. I mean, Hibs have got a lot of midfield players, but in my I don't know too much about the new guys, but not really a playmaker other than Dylan Levitt. And you all know I'm a fan of his. He's only got a year to go with his contract. Why hadn't Hibs offering him an extension, I wonder?
Is that something you would expect to see this season, Joe, or do you think the arrivals will knock Dylan down the pecking order a wee bit?
I don't know enough about the rivals, Matty, to be honest with you. I've not seen them play, I think I remember seeing the Dundee laddie play. But on the subject of Dundee, they've just about got rid of all their players in the last 9 months.
Clear, haven't they?
And on that subject, I wouldn't be against it if Hibs had another go at trying to sign Simon Murray.
He's just been
really clear out. Sorry?
He's just been made captain of Dundee.
Has he? Oh, well.
There's only one left. He's there by default.
That's probably to try and help keep him.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
John, Jeff made reference to Mulligan's versatility. How important will that be in sort of managing the squad for Europe and the league?
I think it'll be crucial, and again, it suggests that there's a plan in the background. I mean, mean, I was heretical and suggested the other week that we might substitute centre-halves. I mean, acknowledging that the norm is that it's your players that are running their legs off up the top of the pitch. He has legs, so whether he's doing sort of the cameo roles in games that Josh Campbell has done in the past and becomes that sort of role, we haven't got a decision on Hoilett, so we don't know where he is in terms of that side. McGrath tends to be a left-sided, does he not? This is a right-sided. I made the mistake, and he mentioned the 4-0 game at Easter Road and how good we were and stuff like this, so I watched it. And he's one of the players that watched Miller run right through everybody, you know what I mean? For the goal. So it wasn't the best one to watch him, but again, everything I read, I listened to the Observer earlier. Yeah, we've brought a player that can play middle to right hand side of the pitch. Whether we play the 3-4-3 type formations that we're doing, gives Gray probably the option of 4-2-3-1. I mean, if he's got more of a wing back there, play higher up the pitch, he carries the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't. From all the stats that have come out and listening to sort of Liam and that on the Observer earlier, I don't think he's a player for the middle of the park to break it up. He's a player you pass the ball to and he takes up the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think the Triantis would hopefully still be getting done in the background. But again, you've got Manny in there as well, but he's on the other side of the pitch.
It's definitely shaping up. Stephen, the one of the things that sticks out about Mulligan is his physical attributes. He's a big laddie, and I think he's almost like an identikit David Gray type player. I think you look at Bowie or Iredale or like Pateta, and they're all big laddies that have come in. Even Manny, who's a bit different, still quite physically imposing type of player. Do you think that's this is what we can expect from Hibs signings for now?
It seems like they've obviously set a mould of what they want to do in terms of positions, being able to play multiple positions, having big, strong physical attributes and things like that as well. So I would imagine it's been done off the back of quite a lot of research and scouting and things, and probably looking at, as John was saying, games against us in the past as well, Matty. So I think we have to trust the process, so to speak. But everything I've read online, Dundee fans are quite disappointed he's left. Some Aberdeen fans are a wee bit disappointed that he's not went to them. Hibs fans are quite happy he's came to us. So for me, it's if we don't get Triantis, it's an excellent addition if that doesn't happen. And if we do get Triantis, it's an excellent also to have next to Triantis as well. And as John's and Jeff have said, the middle of the park is we're going to have to find a formation. I don't know, a 2-8-0 formation where we can play all the decent midfielders we've got, because it's maybe we don't need strikers. Maybe we're just going to play with a shit ton of midfielders that get forward. I don't know, but yeah, on paper, Matty, he seems like a pretty astute signing, and hopefully that's how it plays out.
Do you remember Craig Levine did the 4-8-0 formation with Scotland and America?
No trigger, Joe. Where was the trigger one?
Actually, it's an interesting point you just made, though. Great signings. We've got double cover for just about every position up until the front. We desperately need to bring in a couple of strikers of quality.
Yeah, what have you made of the squad planning for this one? We spoke about it, I think, when we only brought in one in January, and now that was a sort of shift in the policy. But what are you making of it?
Yeah, I've been very impressed like the others. I've always rated Josh Mulligan, but I think he'll struggle to get playing time. I think we've got 5 or 6, at least 5 midfielders who are better than him. Jamie McGrath, I'm probably more excited about because his creativity. If I could just say that I made a bit of an arse of myself at the Ron Gordon Festival at HTC, because obviously I'm not used to being right next to the players, and I was wondering why Josh Campbell looked a bit different to the way he normally looks. And it was only when I got home I realised it was Jamie McGrath. So I also made an even bigger arse of myself by going up to Eddie May and saying hello to Eddie May, because Eddie May used to be my neighbour when he stayed in Cramond. So I talked about the fact that my son had actually turned into a decent football player, even although Eddie May had stopped the kids playing football in the street because he was worried about his car being hit. And it was only when I got home and posted my picture of Eddie May and me together that my brother then said, "But you realise that's Gareth Evans, don't you?" No. But at the Ron Gordon Festival, actually, it was really good. It was really well organised.
What time did the bar open there?
Didn't realise the hospitality was that good, Ian.
but the festival was great. It was really well organised. I was very impressed with it. I've never been to anything like that before that Hibs have done. And like Ian Murray playing five-a-sides. It was just great seeing stuff like that. Obviously, I'd like to thank everyone that sponsored me on the sponsored cycle. So Cameron Cool, the guy who we had on Long Bangers a few weeks ago, and the Community Foundation, they did a really good job organising the cycling. And Cameron was the guy that cycled to all the women's games, and he was really good. Ian Gordon came to see us off from Easter Road, and he was there at the festival HTC, so it was great. It was really good. So thanks everyone that sponsored me. I raised over 300 quid,
Well done.
including yourself, Matty, and I met John for Cumbernauld. So if John for Cumbernaulds here, a really interesting guy actually. Just chatting to him because he's originally from Glasgow and he just chose to support Hibs instead of Rangers or Celtic, even though he lived in Glasgow. He lives in Cumbernauld now. He said he never misses a Long Bangers episode, so it was great seeing him. Overall, I feel our squad is really strong now. I think as either John said or you said, I think it is important that we have a depth of squad for the European matches. But Jamie McGrath excites me, even though I probably think he is Josh Mulligan if I ever met him. But Josh Mulligan, I think, will be a good player. But as I say, I think we've got 5 or 6 people ahead of him. So he'll spend, I think, quite a lot of time on the bench.
Well, the interesting thing about Josh Mulligan's, I reached out to a friend I have who does the Dundee TV commentary, and asked him about him, and he reckoned that Mulligan's ceiling was higher than Cameron and McCowan. He rated them higher than both of those players. I think we've won a watch and getting them. And we're in like a WhatsApp group with loads of other podcasters for different clubs, and I think this is the first signing I've seen where virtually every other team has been like, well done, Hibs. Do you know, like quite gutted that we've landed them and not them.
Yeah, that's how I felt. But just looking at the stats, I mean, he doesn't get involved or score goals in the way that say Josh Campbell does. You know, he doesn't have that number of assists or anything like the number of goals.
We'll be in a better team this season, though. We'll see what he does. See what he does in a good team. Jeff, you've got your hand up there.
Just quickly, John from Cumbernauld, was he about our age, Ian? Getting on a bit.
Yes, he was, but he was just as fit as you, Jeff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I cycled with him last year when we did the David Gray challenge.
He said he was cycling last year with an arsehole, and it was much better being with me, so it was good.
yeah. Nice one. Shut up now.
Well, you're there, Jeff. Right, we've got a question for Spot. It says, if Nectar signed, is that not too many for midfield? So if we do get Nectar in as well, is that a sign that we do need to shift a couple? And if so, who are the ones who should be worried about their place?
Yeah, good question. If we do get group stage football in Europe, then we'll probably need all the midfielders. That's where the most attrition happens, and bookings, injuries. So if we don't get group stage, we probably have got maybe one too many. Joe, Dylan Levitt's biggest fan, has outlined he's only got a year in his contract. Do we cash in on Dylan, or is Dylan going to be central to the midfield? He is probably one of the most creative ones we've got in there. I don't think Manny could be like a Dylan Levitt from what I've seen of him, with a bit more bite. I don't know. We probably have got. It's nice. It's a nice problem to have, though.
It is.
I'd rather have too many than too little.
It's funny, I'm quite a sad bastard. I couldn't sleep last night. So, I was late driving back from Hampden. Never go to a gig at Hampden. If you do, don't park in Asda.
No.
That is my advice. It took us longer to get out of the car park and from the car park to the exit of the car park at Asda than it did from Glasgow to Dunfermline after it. So I got home about 2:00 this morning. And then
outside of the railway line and go through East Kilbride.
Right, I'll keep that in mind for next time. I definitely don't drive to fucking Glasgow to Hampden. But my head was buzzing because I get excited about these things. You start thinking about the squad that we've got, and like Joe, you mentioned, like we need to get a couple of strikers in. I think that's probably the obvious thing. There was a couple of posts on Hibs.net alluding to the fact that Hibs are looking to break the bank on at least one of those strikers, and it might be a new transfer record, which is exciting if that happens. But Neil's mentioned in the comments that he thinks we can go on and push for the league this year and the Scottish, and a good run in Europe, probably win that too. So I never got quite that carried away with it. But Stephen,
we moved on to speaking about the ladies' team.
That's the ladies' team might be doing that. Stephen, based on the squad so far, and without risking going into Jambo territory where you just sort of forget how shite you really are. What are you looking at this? When you look at the squad this season, what are you expecting us to do?
Oh, this goes back to that episode you did with John and Colin, isn't it? For me, the minimum has to be either better or the same as last season. And if you finish third the season before, the target has to be to do the same, but to get third by a larger margin than we did last season. So the way the squad's shaping up, I think it looks more balanced than it did 12 months ago. Aware that other clubs are starting to strengthen players with new players as well. So we would at this stage that the target is to be at least the same as last season and to push on for third and to push on. I mean, we entered the League Cup at the last 16 phase, so you're only, 2 games from Hampden, 3 games from a final, 4 games from winning it. Scottish Cup's different. You're obviously entering at the same time as all the other big clubs as well. So, yeah, for me, the target has to be third, and third with a reasonable margin between ourselves and fourth.
With a bit to spare, eh? John, we've got a comment for Jason Ladson. Glad we didn't sign that Hull guy now. Use the cash instead for a marquee forward. So that was Javier Simons, who ended up at Bolton. There was also a lot of chat this week, and it'd be interesting to get everybody's thoughts on this one, but I'll start with you, John. Rangers signed a Bournemouth player on loan, their fullback, and I followed this conversation closely because I kind of swing from one position to the next with it, or did up until we brought in Mulligan, who Rangers were also reportedly interested in. Bournemouth sending a player to Rangers, first of all, John. How did you feel about that?
I genuinely wasn't bothered in any way at all. Martin has a history at Norwich. This player started his career at Norwich. That's likely where the connection's coming in terms of him getting the nod to it. He has been playing in Spain for the last year. I mean, he's a bit part player on Bournemouth's books that is carrying a heavy wage, and they need somebody to carry that wage. If it's Rangers carrying it, we couldn't carry the wage, and we don't need a right back. I mean, it's one of those where I understand the frustration, but the idea is that Rangers are going to, because of their budget, are going to put players into their squad who are from Premiership quality teams that we can't touch. So I'm really, really shruggy-shouldered about it. We don't know anything about his character. As I say, we don't know his connection in the background. In the same way as I wasn't bothered about the boy going to Kilmarnock last year. I mean, it's the Bournemouth have to do their own stuff. I don't want to be tied to Bournemouth. We're the only club in Scotland that Bournemouth can give a player to. Therefore, we are forced to take a player from Bournemouth. I'd rather it was as it is now, where we pick and choose.
Fair enough. Stephen, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I'm completely on board with what John says there. For me, Matty, it's the optics around it and how it looks. When in fact, that's a player that isn't on Hibs' radar because a number of reasons. In fact, A, we don't need a right back. B, the wage demands will be sky high compared to what we can reasonably offer. And B, it's not in Bournemouth's ballpark to deal with us as well. I mean, if somebody came in for who's Bournemouth's best player, maybe that Clivert. If somebody came in for a bid for him, would we expect Bournemouth to say, actually, Hibs, are you going to counter that offer? No, he's just not. It's not a Hibs market level player. So I'm completely with John. I just wanted to come in and say that I'm completely with John and exactly what he said there.
Joe, you want to come in?
Yeah, I'm completely ambivalent about it too. I agree with the other two guys. I don't think it's any great loss. And on the subject of Rangers, since December, we did far, far better than they did. We matched Celtic for points from December till the end of the season. We slaughtered Rangers in points. And even if Rangers spend a lot of these millions that are coming in, they've still got to blend them in, bed them into the team, etc. We've actually got just about all of our team that did that great 17-game run. Just about all of them. And yes, we've got Europe. So Rangers. I see no reason why Hibs can't go for second. There, you had it first in this Long Bangers episode. Mark it down well. Joe Capaldi said Hibs for second place next season.
I'm on board. Ian, there was also like a chain of thought that with Rangers sniffing around Mulligan and Hibs obviously being interested in him, it might not have been a bad thing for Bournemouth to shift a player that they weren't going to play in that position over to Rangers. Thus taking their interest away from Mulligan and leaving the door open for us to jump in and get the signing over the line. Is there any merit to that, do you think?
I mean, Rangers are a competitor, and we would hope to be one of our key competitors in the season ahead. If he had gone to Hearts, would we feel differently? I think a lot of people would have felt differently. Rangers are just as much competitors of ours, and even more so, I would hope, than Hearts. So if he'd gone to Hearts, would we be okay about that? Probably not. Speaking as a fellow deluded muppet like Joe here, the season ahead, I think, is all about continuous improvement. It's all about Kaizen. So the majority of the players have to improve. Right? They just have to continue to improve. The coaching team obviously have to continue to learn. And the attendances have to increase. And as Colin said, we have to beat the teams that we should beat. So that is the season I'd like to see ahead of us. I want to see us beating Livingston well, etc. Falkirk will be competitive. I want to see us beating Falkirk because we should. So deluded muppet I may be, but I want to see us challenging for second.
We had Spot said, I've just lost the. I only got 4 games, so the guy Aaron's, I think it is, that went to Rangers, only got 4 games for Valencia. Still annoying, but I would rather Mulligan. And Jeff, Ian has not Ian on here, but Ian on the chat says, "What if Aaron's goal puts us out in the Scottish Cup? Would we feel different about it if an event like that happened, or is that kind of is it trivial? What do you make of that, Jeff?"
I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed at all the social media chat about how somebody from Bournemouth has put Hibs out of the cup, blah, blah, blah. But I'm much, as somebody just said, I'm much happier if it was Mulligan or him. I'd rather have Mulligan, who won't cost us as much money to keep and wages, and he's got far more potential. He's got a ceiling that he hasn't reached yet, whereas Aaron's Rangers might be his ceiling, and then who knows? So, yeah, it'd be the optics would be bad if he scores against us and it puts us out a cup or wins them a league game against us. But I think you've got to rise above the social media stuff and just look at the longer game. Mulligan is for Hibs, a better prospect. Future Scotland international, probably sell him in a year or two if he does continue for quite a lot of money. Make what we got back, and that's the way we operate. Whereas Aaron's wouldn't be like that.
And if Aaron's was that good, Rangers would have bought him, not just rented him.
Yeah. He wouldn't go to Rangers either.
Right, so we're just going to the last few minutes here. Sandy said, I took my wife to the Easter Road Tour event today. We've got a brand new pitch for the new season. It's part plastic, part grass, a hybrid. It looks fantastic, and I think it'll suit quick players like we have. Ian, you mentioned there about the attendances need to grow. So I think Hibs had been tracking the record season ticket sales. Signings like Mulligan, like McGrath, and presumably we're going to pick up a couple of centre forwards. But if we get Triantis back and we re-sign Rocky, what more can Hibs do to entice fans back through the turnstiles?
The matchday experience, the big fires the extending the match, extending the match day. I mean, when John was other John was at Lucerne last year, and I dare say John probably saw the restaurants outside and there was tents outside, so there was a whole big reception area for fans that could easily stand, for instance. Make it nicer, make it better to go there. Uh, I think the excitement of Rocky re-signing, I think, is a big plus. And I think that there's been a lot done already. So I think the confidence from last season has made it far more likely that people will want to come along to the game.
And John, on that topic, we seem to be doing our business still relatively early. So but folk have been including Manny in the sort of the transfer activity for this window. I'm not sure how I feel about this because it's just because he never played that much from January till now. But let's do that. We'll include him, even though I'm kind of he's not really a summer signing. McGrath, Mulligan, we've got Rocky. If we get Triantis back in, I think there's still a bit of talk about Hoilett coming back as well. So we've got the squad set up, the goalkeepers in. Also, we've got a relatively kind start in the league. If this team gets off to a flyer, how important is that momentum going to be? Like we saw what happened with Aberdeen last season. Are we good enough to sustain it for a season?
I think that we could be. I think that the sort of the Mulligan type signing gives us that depth towards the 16 players that are going to play each game. I mean, I think that we've now moved beyond what are the first 11. I mean, substitutes came in 50 years ago. We're now up to 5 substitutes in the game, so you have to play a 16-player game. So Mulligan, and that's where the forwards come in. Yeah, we've got 2 that are start, but we don't have 2 that can come on. That's going to be the difference in the coming weeks. I think that the squad is looking good. I mean, it's the moving outs as well. I mean, I think everybody's waiting for the Del Ferry move. In fairness to him, I think he signed a contract we offered him, but he's taken every opportunity that he can to go and play football. I mean, he's gone to the continent a couple of times and stuff like this. So it's not as if they've come in and just done what that Rangers striker did a few years back. I mean, just sat back and took the monthly payments. I mean, they have gone out and tried to play. And the same with Tavares. He's tried to go to Motherwell to see if something would work out. But it's the move outs as well. I mean, it's about that. I mean, Jake Doyle-Hayes left at Christmas. Amos left at Christmas. I mean, it's those sort of changes. Get the main business done early in the window. I'd like somebody like Hoilett back, just in terms of that older head and experience, because I suspect that we don't quite know how much Hoilett and Gale had the influence between the Dundee game and the Aberdeen game in terms of the sit down and the meeting. But you would suspect that somebody with that track record in the game, Dwight Gale clearly had the respect of a lot in the changing room, had played with some of them earlier in their careers. I mean, it's that sort of idea. So that's a later in the window. But yeah, I think we have a good enough 16. And it's then down to luck and injuries. We lose 3 centre backs to injury, then we're going to struggle. But you're not going to have 7 centre backs on the book.
And that's the same with pretty much every team, though, isn't it? In the league, if they lose, everybody from one position, they would toil.
But everything feels as if there's a good balance in there. The additional keeper clearly be interesting in terms of who comes forward as the third keeper. The defence with the addition of Rocky, you're then seeing that you've got your fulcrum in there. We know that different players can go outside them. We've then got variations at wing back. We know we can play a 4. We're then looking at that position just in front. I mean, we still have our eye in terms of where Sunderland, if Sunderland are going to blink and let the deal go through. But midfield, left to right, is there. And we've got a starting pair up top that are both internationalists.
Well, I was just about to come on to there and say to bring you in, Jeff, on that. Like we recognise this need for 2 strikers to replace players that have gone out, but the 2 strikers that we have, assuming that Yuan moves on, but that's not necessarily guaranteed to happen. And I don't think I'd be sad if he was available and playing for the team next season. That's a very good player to have. But the 2 players that are available, Martin Boyle, scoring goals at international level, top scorer, top assists for us last season. stepped in as captain when Joe Newell was unavailable, had a really strong season, and Kieran Bowie, who capped off his season by a Scotland call-up. It's not a disastrous position to be in when we're looking at, we desperately need 2 strikers, and you look at, if we didn't get them in immediately, we're not. It's not like we're struggling up top, are we?
No, again, we've got to be lucky with injuries and suspensions, especially up top. That's where we're really short. So Bowie will have a full pre-season. Boyle's got over his injury worries. He was carrying that wrist injury at the start of last season. It took a while. So yeah, we're fine. Ewan's an interesting one. Everyone seems to have written him off, but I haven't heard any mood music about him going or staying. I don't know if anybody's heard anything different.
Well, his locker's been empty since January, hasn't it? According
to some people, yeah. I mean, if we kept him and we got the Ewan, who's a game changer, for a season, and he goes for rock all at the end, I wouldn't be unhappy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely. I mean, the thing is with Bowie and Boyle, the way we play, our centre forwards, no matter who they are, tend to last 60, 70 minutes, and we replace them. So we've got the young lad Cleland, is it, from the youth team at the moment? Mm-hmm. Cleland, I think he's the only other proper out-and-out forward. Campbell could maybe fit in there short term. I've been looking at the team, keeper, Miller, the usual defence, two Caddens, Levitt and Triantis if we get in, McGrath, Bowie and Boyle. That's your starting 11. That still leaves Molotnikov, Obita, Newell, McIntyre, youngster, I'm quite excited about, Mulligan, Manny and Campbell. That's not a bad... that's a hell of a squad without 2 additional forwards.
Aye.
If one of them happens to be...
I was going to say, do we have to name a squad of 25 for Europe? Is that what we have to do?
3
of them are Scottish origin.
If we get the 2 forwards, that's a hell of a bench and fitting everybody in. And but again, with European football and group stage, we're going to need a big squad. But it doesn't detract it. When we turn up on the Sunday to play at Livingston on the plastic, we've got the quality still to give players a rest and win.
I think the key thing is we have the mentality to do that, and I think that's probably where I'm most optimistic with David Gray in charge, is that we'll have the mentality to go to Livingston on the Sunday. Yeah. Ian, were you want to come in there? I wasn't sure if you were about to say something.
I was just going to comment on Europe and Midtjylland. Midtjylland, my mate Peter, he lives in Hibernian and is a home and away supporter of Midtjylland. And I've got my travel book. I just hope I get a ticket now. But it was funny talking to Peter because they expected, with all the signings that everyone's been talking about, all the millions that were spent, they expected to win the Super League last year. So they actually expected to win it. They're very disappointed not to. So that's their frame of mind at the moment. But I'm quite excited about us going into Europe. And I think with the squad we've got a good chance of getting through the group stages as a deluded Muppet.
Yeah.
Because we were upset. Joe, right, last word to you, because we're just out of time here.
I think, just very quickly, we all know we need a couple of strikers, but David Gray was quoted as saying just a few days ago that they hope to get in a striker early on in the transfer window, like within the next week. I can't remember where I saw that, but it was something like Monday of this week only. So I think, and with the implication that they bring somebody else in towards the end of the transfer window. That's what he said a few days ago.
Obviously, Miko went elsewhere. He went, I can't remember, Yugoslavia, Prague or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
What sort of profile of striker do you think we'll see coming in, Joe?
Well, a good big one, I hope, because whereas Martin Boyle's terrific and he scored all these goals, he's still a wee guy, and a good big one's better than a good wee one. I think, especially, heading goals in is quite an important part of the game.
Don't let my wife know that, Joe.
and the other thing is, if Kieran Bowie gets injured, you need another big striker in the pool. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Aye, agree with that. Okay, right, we will call it a night there. Guys, great talking to you today. I really enjoyed that one. Hope everybody's enjoyed listening. And if you can hit the wee like button for us, that always helps us. And please do recommend us to your friends. We'll be back on Sunday, Colin, John and myself. And I think we're into the January fixtures of our season review on Sunday. So again, the good form for Hibs continues and some good fixtures in there to look forward to discussing. So please do join us and we will see you then.